In the quiet town of Omuma, where life thrived, similar to a city, there lived a pair of twins, Adanna and Nnenna. The two sisters had always been close, sharing everything from childhood memories to secrets no one else knew. Even as they grew older and their lives took different paths, the bond between them remained unbreakable. Adanna was married to Chike, a hard-working man who adored her. Nnenna, on the other hand, was still single, content with her independence and freedom to pursue her career as a schoolteacher in one of the best schools in town. Despite their different lifestyles, they continued to support each other as they had always done. One evening, as Workers' Day approached, Adanna, who works as a receptionist in a private firm, sat by the window in her home, staring at the sunset. She had been feeling overwhelmed lately, her days filled with endless chores, work, and the demands of married life. Her workplace had planned a night out for the team, which is a rare opportunity to unwind, spend the night in a neighboring state, and enjoy some well-deserved rest. It was the break she desperately needed. Adanna turned to Chike as he walked into the room, exhausted from a long day. Chike, my office is planning a get-together for Workers' Day. They are spending the night out of town just for some fun and relaxation. I've been feeling so tired lately and I really want to go. Chike frowned, shaking his head. Do you know how I feel about these things, Adanna? I don't like the idea of you being away overnight. We can always plan something together here at home. Adanna sighed, disappointment settling in her chest. She loved Chike, but he never seemed to understand how burnt out she was. She needed this time away, even if it was just for one night. It's just a night, Chike, and I really looked forward to this. Not like you'd be home for Workers' Day. You told me you'd have no off for you on Workers' Day. Why can't I just have the night to myself? Adanna said, sounding pissed and frustrated. You're going nowhere and that's final, Chike said, uninterested in further conversation on the matter. Immediately, Adanna thought of her twin sister Nnenna, and an idea began to form in her mind. It was a risky plan, but it was the only way she could attend the gathering. Later that evening, Adanna hurried to Nnenna's house. Nnenna was sitting on her perch, reading a book when Adanna arrived. Her face lit up with excitement. After exchanging pleasantries, Adanna began. Nnenna, I need a huge favor, she said, her voice filled with urgency. Chike won't let me go to the office getaway, but I really need this break. Can you come and stay at my house tonight? He always comes late and by the time he's done with his bath, he just goes to bed. You wouldn't have to do much, please, Nnenna. Nnenna blinked, taken aback by the request. Adanna, you can't be serious. Pretend to be you? What if something goes wrong? You play too much. Let it go, abeg. You would find another way to unwind. Nothing will go wrong. Trust me, Adanna insisted. I'll tell you exactly what to do. He never notices much when he returns from work. He's usually tired and just goes to bed after showering. Sometimes he even skips meals. You won't even have to interact much with him because he leaves early for work. I'll tell you how to pull this off very easily. Nnenna hesitated, her gut telling her this was a bad idea. But when she saw the desperation in Adanna's eyes, she found herself softening. She knew how much her sister had been struggling lately. All right, Nnenna finally agreed, sighing. But this is a one-time thing. I don't feel right about it. Adanna hugged her tightly, relief washing over her. Thank you, Nnenna. You don't know how much this means to me. You are the best gift God ever gave me. That night, after Adanna left for her getaway, Nnenna made her way to her sister's house. She wore one of Adanna's dresses and tried to imitate her mannerisms as best as she could. As the clock ticked closer to Chike's usual arrival time, Nnenna nervously paced the living room. She kept glancing at the door, hoping he would come home, take his bath, and go straight to bed as Adanna had promised. When it was 8 p.m., Nnenna, despite being a late sleeper, made her way to bed. She wanted to ensure the conversation is kept at a bare minimum since it was not completely avoidable. But when Chike arrived, something was different. He came home earlier than usual, smiling brightly as he walked in and carrying a basket of treats and a bottle of wine. He made his way into the bedroom. Nnenna wasn't asleep but had to pretend to be. Well, that didn't stop Chike as he woke her up, covering her eyes and leading her to the living room. Adanna, he said with a grin, I thought I would do something special for you tonight. You've been talking about how tired you've been, and I wanted to surprise you. I brought some things to make the evening a little more fun. Nina's heart sank. This was not part of the plan. She tried to smile and stay calm, but her discomfort was clear. Oh, you don't have to, Chike, she mumbled. Chike noticed her hesitation and raised his brow. What's wrong? You're acting strange. Aren't you happy to see me? Nnenna forced a smile, trying to match Adanna's usual demeanor. Of course I am. I just tired, I guess. He didn't seem convinced, but shrugged it off, pulling her into a hug. Nnenna felt her stomach twist. She hadn't anticipated this level of closeness, and it made her uneasy. As the night went on, Chike set up the food and wine, playfully teasing her about how they should relax together. Nnenna tried to remain distant, but his persistence was overwhelming. Eventually, as they sat together, Chike leaned in, kissed her. Nnenna froze, her mind racing. This was not part of the plan. This was not meant to happen. How could she stop it without blowing their cover? She didn't want Chike to suspect anything or ruin her sister's plan. So, against her better judgment, she went along with it, telling herself it was just a one-time thing to protect Adanna, and of course, her marriage. This soon led to them having sex. This was too much for Nnenna, but she thought blowing up her sister's cover at that time could cost Adanna a lot. She thought to go through with it since it wasn't her fertile window, and she was willing to do anything to protect her sister from any issues with her husband. That night, as they lay together in bed, Nnenna felt a heavy weight in her chest. She hadn't wanted this, but it had happened. The guilt gnawed at her, especially as Chike couldn't stop talking about how sweet she was. She promised herself never to speak of it to anyone, including her sister. How could she? The following morning, Nnenna hurried back to her home after Chike left for work, trying to put the events of the night behind her. Adanna returned later, grateful that everything had gone smoothly. Also, she thought. Weeks passed, and life seemed to return to normal. But then, Nnenna began to feel strange. She was tired all the time and nauseous in the mornings. Her period was late, and a sense of dread settled over her. She went to see a doctor, and her worst fears were confirmed. She was pregnant. Nnenna's mind spun in panic. How could this have happened? She had tried to calculate her safe days, thinking she couldn't conceive, but fate had other plans. Desperate to undo the situation, she considered terminating the pregnancy before anyone could find out. But when she visited the doctor, she received unexpected news. The doctor looked at her with a serious expression. You have a condition called low ovarian reserve, he said. It means that your chances of conceiving naturally are very low. To be honest, it's a miracle that you even got pregnant. Nnenna sat in stone silence. She had never thought about her fertility before, but now the possibility that this might be her only chance to have a child loomed over her. The decision she had been so sure of a moment ago now felt impossible and a wrong idea. Reluctantly, Nnenna decided to keep the pregnancy. She couldn't bring herself to tell Adanna or Chike the truth. Instead, she quietly left the town, moving to a distant city where no one knew her. She found another job as a schoolteacher, just like before, and prepared to raise her child if he or she is born. Back in Omumma, Adanna and Chike continued their lives, unaware of what had transpired. Adanna occasionally wondered why her sister had suddenly moved away, but she chalked it up to Nnenna's desire for a fresh start. After 4 long years of phone conversation and brief visits between Nnenna and Adanna, Nnenna had built a new life in the city. She was no longer the quiet schoolteacher her sister once knew. Now she worked as a banker and had a comfortable apartment. She had also hired a nanny to care for Ifeanyi while she juggled her demanding career. Throughout the years, she carefully kept her secret, never letting Adanna meet her son, always making excuses whenever the topic to visit her in her house came up. She would always organize their visit or meet up in a public eatery. But one fateful afternoon, everything changed. Nnenna had been feeling unwell for weeks, the stress of her job and life catching up to her. It wasn't until she collapsed at work that her nanny made the call that would unravel everything.